One moment, 12-year-old Jack MacMillan was happily splashing about in the family pool. Within minutes, he was dead. There was no cry for help, no desperate fight for his final breath. Because Jack was the victim of a deadly but little-known condition called shallow water blackout. It's brought on by the simple act of holding your breath underwater. And it's thought to be the #1 cause of drowning among competent swimmers. Yet most of us are completely unaware of its risks.
He just loved being in the pool. He'd just do lap after lap after lap.
He was a quiet achiever. He was very determined to do his best at anything. Yeah.
In January last year, 12-year-old Jack MacMillan was looking forward to a world of new challenges. He'd made the local cricket team, and in 2 days, he'd start high school. Jack loved to test his limits, especially in the family pool.
He was, holding his breath and I guess, challenging himself to see how many laps can I do.
Being a typical 12-year-old.
Yeah, being a typical 12-year-old. That's exactly right.
Jack's parents, George and Michelle, who divorced 6 years ago, were strict about supervising the kids in the pool.
I was just over here and, watching, seeing what was, just keeping an eye on him when he was doing his laps going up and down the pool.
So you were less than 10 metres away?
Yeah.
But what Michelle didn't know, and most Australians don't realise, is that by repeatedly holding his breath underwater, Jack was already in mortal danger from a deadly but little-known condition called shallow water blackout.
At the time, his little sister, who was 6 months old, I, had her in my arms and, Jack was sort of calling out to me, "Mum, watch this, look at me do these laps."
Shallow water blackout plays a fatal trick on the mind. Jack didn't drown fighting for his last breath because he didn't know he needed it.
I would have looked away momentarily, just distracted, by my baby in my arms, looked back and I saw him, he was at the shallow end of the pool, 1 metre deep water, and he was just sort of curled in this fetal position at the bottom of the pool, and I just instantly, got up and ran, and I just jumped in and I pulled him out, and I just remember thinking, it's so heavy trying to pull him out of the pool, and I just started resuscitating him as soon as I got him out.
Did you think you could save him?
Yeah, well, yeah. I was doing everything I could to try and save him. And I guess that's the hardest thing, is that in the end I couldn't. I just couldn't.
That's because death is so swift. Shallow water blackout kills 4 times faster than normal drowning.
I got a phone call saying that there'd been an accident and something had happened to Jack, and I just remember running around the house screaming, "Not my son, not my son."
The cause of Jack's death was initially recorded as drowning, but the family was shocked to discover the real culprit was something they'd never even heard of.
I still don't accept it. I still don't understand it, and I'll never get over it. I'll never get over it.
We've known about it since the 50s. I've only written about it since 1985. And people have only started listening since 2000, so it's been a long haul.
Here in the United States,
American Dr. Tom Griffiths is considered the world authority on shallow water blackout. He believes it's the single biggest killer of competent swimmers. And like Jack, they're usually young, fit, healthy high achievers.
The very competitive type A personality, if I can say that, the person who pushes themselves to the limit, and so they see how much longer they can hold their breath or how much farther they can go. And again, that's a recipe for disaster, particularly if they do it over and over and over again.
The moment we hold our breath, oxygen levels in the bloodstream start to drop. But normally, the corresponding rise in carbon dioxide acts as the body's alarm system. At a certain level, it triggers the urge to take our next breath. But repetitive and continuous breath holding keeps carbon dioxide levels artificially low. The alarm system is disabled, and the brain fails to send the critical signal to breathe. Blackout comes with no warning. For 40 years, the science behind shallow water blackout has been well established, but certainly not well known. In fact, our top swim coaches have been using hypoxic drills, basically oxygen deprivation, to train our elite swimmers for years. The very practices that can bring on a blackout, even death. Come on, Emily, get it out of there.
Yes!
12-year-old Emily Miles is at peak fitness and a fierce competitor. Oh! Oh! Whether it's backyard soccer or a swim meet. But last month, at a routine training session in suburban Perth, Dad Tony thought he'd lost his little athlete. So one moment she was swimming along fine.
Yep.
And then she just sank.
In the blink of an eye. In the absolute blink of an eye. That's how quick shallow water blackout can take over.
Tony was watching from the stands as Emily's coach put the squad through a gruelling hypoxic training session. As she approached the wall on her final lap, she blacked out and was dragged unconscious from the pool.
Do you remember what happened? Not really. I just remember doing the underwater, then feeling quite tired because I was running out of breath, and then just like blacked out, and then I only remember just waking up and the oxygen mask is on my face.
When I got down onto the pool deck, just her in the recovery position, I think that will probably stick with me. You know, that image, the little body lifeless next to me. Yeah, that was pretty traumatic. Yeah, we got lucky.
The kind of breath-holding drills that Emily was doing are practiced every day at swimming clubs all over the country. Yet, incredibly, there is no proven value in doing them.
We have no scientific evidence that says that hypoxic training or breath holding enhances performance, none at all. And we try to balance risk versus benefits. And we know what the risks are, sudden death or drowning, and we don't know of the benefits, so why are we doing this?
Go! Emily, how many laps had you done underwater that day?
5 with 5 breaths, 5 with 4 breaths. 2 with 3, 2 with 2, then 50 with 1 breath, and then 150 no breaths. So it was quite a lot.
You'd spent a lot of time underwater that day.
Yeah.
These are the things you need to be very careful with. Never ignore the urge to breathe. Don't hyperventilate before going underwater, things like that. This is the policy we have in place now.
Jacko Verhaeren is Australia's newly appointed head swimming coach. In the wake of Emily's near drowning, Swimming Australia reviewed its training methods. It acknowledges the inherent risks in hypoxic drills, but still allows coaches to use them. If that sounds confused, well, so is the new coach.
I don't think Swimming Australia is encouraging any coach to do hypoxic training.
Yes, they are. That's part of everyday training. It's still happening today.
Okay,
Do you disagree with the statement in here that hypoxic training has a role to play in the development of competitive swimmers?
Maybe we should look very careful to the guidelines and explain them.
But you're saying no 12-year-old should be doing this?
No 12-year-old and no development swimmer whatsoever, no recreational swimmer whatsoever should push themselves to the limits.
Can you guarantee under these new guidelines that no swimmer will suffer shallow water blackout?
These are guidelines to prevent as much as possible and to educate as much as possible people from doing the wrong things at the wrong time with athletes.
But if you can't guarantee that someone won't die, why not just ban it? What do you think?
Nothing.
The fact is, shallow water blackout strikes the strongest and the fittest, those who push themselves to be the best, like Jack MacMillan.
It's almost instantaneous where they just
Yeah.
almost fall asleep in the water.
Yeah. Jack had no idea he even needed to take a breath.
No, he didn't get a chance. I mean, he was at the shallow end of the pool. He could have just stood up, but he didn't get the warning.
You know, how many of us have held our breath in the pool and, you know, over the years done this same thing, you know, swimming, challenging ourselves, holding our breath, seeing how long we can hold our breath.
It's almost a rite of passage for every Aussie kid, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
YMCA's kicked off. We've done a presentation to them. And we're going to start.
Jack's family has now established Shallow Water Blackout Australia with one goal in mind: to convince the nation that what seems such a part of our everyday lives can have devastating consequences.
If that's what we can do in Jack's legacy to, you know, to bring some change, to bring something, you know, positive out of his death, then, you know, that's what we have to do. We have to do that.
If it saves one child,
Yeah,
then it's worth it.
that's right. Exactly. And he'd be proud. He'd be proud that something good came of it. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Allison Langdon. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.